What's up, honey?
What's up, my baby?
Oh, nothing.
We were about to celebrate this being our 10th episode, but we actually don't know if it's our 10th episode
I think it's 11.
or 11, or because of the ones we burned. I'm not really sure where we are at this point. So much for the 10 episode celebration. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You, the viewer, and the listener know better than we do at this point.
Yeah.
But
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. What I will say is to please like, subscribe, follow, do all the things, whether you're listening because you love us, listening because you hate it. If you hate listening, you're a fan too.
Or maybe they're listening to figure out if they like us.
Yeah, that could be it too. As long
That's
as
what
you,
I think it is.
You can listen for whatever reason you want, as long as you like, subscribe, or follow. It would mean a lot to us. Please. So thank you for that. And now, on with the episode. Episode number, whatever.
Something.
We had a very busy week, much of which, or a good portion of which, you were gone. You were traveling.
2.5 days.
Yeah, it felt like
days.
a lot longer.
It did feel long, right?
It felt longer, like, because we lost power while you were gone. I couldn't figure out where half the stuff I needed was, and where the candles and the flashlights were, because you stash all that stuff.
I do.
All over the house. So I
was not expecting the power to go out when I left you. I left you with like everything else. I made sure like the meal prep was ready, that you knew how to work the coffee machine.
The basics. The
out.
basics you had left me with, and you couldn't have anticipated the power going out because of the thunderstorm. But yeah, the dogs and I were without power and without Poozle, and without Poozle's power.
That's right.
For about 24 hours, but while we were barely managing to survive, you were in Charleston with your family for your niece's graduation.
Yeah,
how was that?
Wonderful. Yeah, my oldest niece graduated nursing school, so it was beautiful to be there for her to celebrate that. She was super happy, and some of the family was there, so it was really nice.
Awesome.
And something I was very proud of with this vacation is how I went into the vacation. Typically, when I would go around family, I'd have feelings of anxiety or concerns, what kind of conversations were going to happen, particularly with my mother, or what comments were going to be made. And after a lot of work I've been doing on myself for the past few months, and these conversations I've been having with friends, loved ones, even with my mother, like working through certain situations and working through these conversations, I went onto this weekend with a clear mind and an open heart, and I didn't have that feeling of like, what's going to be said? How am I going to react? And it was just a very calming vacation.
Well, I guess the question would be, how did things typically go in situations like that? You said you would show up anxious. Like, what specifically were you anxious about in previous interactions, and how would those kind of, I guess, end up? And then how does that differ from what happened this time?
So previously, I would have been, I guess, concerned if like I was to do something or say something and be judged, if it wasn't the right thing, if it was the good thing, the bad thing. And again, kind of went in with peace of mind of like knowing like whatever I do, it's what I want to do, and I can justify it and say why I'm doing it and be calm about it and not feel a judgment.
Okay. And
not worry about that judgment. And then just, this is like a simple thing that was said while I was there this weekend. So we're getting ready for the graduation, and I put my dress on for it, and my mom goes, "Oh, that dress, that's interesting." And it's not like and that's just how she would say something like that. And typically in the past, I would have reacted in a couple ways. I would have reacted and like shut down and just taken that as like an instant negative.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll say like that, the phrase and the way that it sounds like she said it, saying that's interesting is it good interesting, is it bad interesting?
Right.
And the tone, if it's monotone and flat and doesn't give you any sense of what the intention was behind it, that also gives nothing but ambiguity to you in terms of what she means by that. Does she like it? Does she not like it? Is she fascinated by it? Is she does it leave her? Does she have a question about it?
Exactly. And that's something, again, in the past, like I would have not I would have just taken and been like, okay, like she obviously has another comment she wants to say, but like I'm concerned or I'm afraid of what that other comment's going to be, so I'm not going to pry. And so
and I guess the idea being like you wouldn't want to know if she meant it good or bad because you were fearful that it was going to be bad and then it was going to turn into a negative conversation. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, because again, flat affect, like, oh, that's interesting. No high, no low. I had no idea. And that's very common conversation with my mother. And
she can be passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Like somebody else I know.
I'm working on that.
I know.
So she says that, and I'm just with a smile on my face, and I go, what do you mean by interesting? And she's like, oh, I like the dress. Like, I like how it wraps and how it sits on you. It's very pretty. And I just have learned now at this point in my life that that is just who she is, and she can't give that like initial compliment. I have to kind of like pry it out of her, and that's okay. But like I'm happy I did because it was nice to hear that she liked my dress. If she didn't, like I guess maybe she wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's an interesting now being able to pull away from these conversations and see like, okay, if I just ask a follow-up question calmly and be very present with it and just open-hearted, and it's like giving her space to give a compliment, which is a very bizarre thing. Yeah. But that's how I grew up. Yeah. I don't even know. I'm again figuring this out at 36 years old when my mother's 77.
You talked last week about the various processes and practices you've been doing to try to open up, understand a little bit more about your own psychology and the way you're thinking about things, and work through some of like maybe the blockers or negative aspects of your personality and how to strengthen some of the and reinforce the stronger parts of your personality. And you mentioned last week that like having interactions with specific people, specifically in your family, is something that you've sort of unlocked recently by looking inward and understanding how you're also, causing, whether it's the good or the bad in those conversations yourself, and the way that you bring yourself to those conversations. And this was like a great opportunity, it sounds like, for you to really use those in practice, not just through a phone call, but over the course of a few days with a number of people in your family. And I'm sure like a very hectic couple of days running around, traveling, everybody
trying to like see Charleston while also like running from the graduation to the dinners and
events and all kinds of stuff.
I mean, there was 10 of us, and like that's not even all my siblings and other nieces and nephews. Like my family's huge. Yeah. So that's a lot of personalities to deal with. But again, I was just calm and present, and I took every conversation, processed it, didn't let anything affect my mood or how I was going to go on with the rest of the day. And it was fantastic. Good. Like I had full control of myself this weekend. Yeah. It was really cool. And then that
allowed you to have control over like the situation.
For sure. Cause I think it's me being calm and me like being rational in conversations and making decisions. Cause of course, a lot of times it was like, what are we going to do here? What are we going to do here? And it was just like, this sounds like the best option for all of us to go do right now. This is why, so let's go do it. And just like coming up with the decisions in a very calm way versus like anyone getting butthurt that their opinions weren't listened to and all that kind of bullshit.
Or just getting like swept up in like the frenzy of it all, and then you not being clear on what you think is best, and then just like giving it up to somebody else to make a decision. You just kind of taking the reins and being like, we should do this. This is what makes the most sense. Everybody on board? Great, let's do it.
Exactly. And it was fantastic.
Good job, Boo.
I know. And I had a beautiful conversation with my oldest sister. I mean, we talked a lot, and just we really went into some deep topics that for most of my life I don't think we really ever have. And so that was great too, reconnecting with her, talking about things that really helped both of us. Good. So it was a great weekend.
Glad to hear it.
Couple days towards the end of the week last week.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Honestly, like, I missed you while you were
Yeah.
gone. I definitely did. Interestingly enough, like those days did kind of breeze by. It really didn't feel that long. Like I was so busy day and night, and then especially with the power being out, that made things like even a little bit more hectic, and it made me like want to like be out and about doing stuff more. Whereas like I wasn't just like, home at the end of the night because I couldn't be. I didn't have power to like use my computer even.
Yeah.
So. It made me be out and about. So those days breezed by. But when I saw you at the airport, when I picked you up on Saturday, I gave you the biggest hug. I missed you so much.
It was the best. It was the best, for sure. I was on a very turbulent plane ride home. And like the first hour and a half, I was like, just get me on the ground, get me to Austin. I just want to see Jared and the dogs and just go about it the rest of our fun weekend that we had planned.
Yeah, we had a great weekend.
Yeah. Any updates with you?
Yeah, I think the biggest update is my speed reading class. I don't believe that I've talked about that on this yet. So I've talked about my running that I've picked up on over the last few months. Reason why I did that, like I said, is because I've gone most of my life saying I'm not built for running. I'm not really a runner. I don't like running. And therefore, while I've run like plenty of times in my adult life, I've never made it a part of my regular workout routine. I just felt like at a certain point I just didn't want to, like, I feel like saying that I can't do something or I'm not built for something just isn't a valid excuse at this point. So the same thing has been said, or I've said about myself when it comes to reading.
Yeah.
I've said pretty much my entire adult life that I don't like to read. Even as a child, I didn't love to read, but I did. And I read through high school. I read through college a little bit. And then in law school, I say that it like all the reading blew a fuse in my brain that made me just like despise reading in my adult life to the point where I haven't really picked up many books in the last 13 or so years since law school.
Yeah, you get all your book knowledge from me.
Yeah,
my book reports.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked about that much on this podcast before. But I think at this point, again, I don't have room for my own flaws or weaknesses, especially if I know that like that particular quote unquote weakness is something that is just like not acceptable in terms of something that if I turn it into a strength, I'd be able to benefit from. So in the same way that I picked up running and sprinting so that I can gain ability there, I'm taking a speed reading course now to make sure that I have no excuse when it comes to reading. I have always been a slow reader. I'm realizing now it's a matter of, like, it's not like my brain doesn't work for reading. Like, that's a silly way of putting it. And the fact that I even have said that for the last, like, 12 years is, like, such an excuse. It's such bullshit that I'm, like, upset with myself for even saying it and playing into that.
Well, at least you noted it and you're making the difference.
Yeah, no,
so that's
it's...
the big, something important.
It was nothing but an excuse, and it was also just nothing but me saying, like, oh, it's okay that I don't do this thing that obviously is incredibly valuable and every smart, successful person in the world does. Like Tony Robbins says he read like 700 books in, I think it's like 700 books in 7 years or something like that. Yeah,
more Tony Robbins
more crazy Tony Robbins facts. It was like 700 books in 7 years, I think. And you hear about all these other successful people who do read, and I had to look at myself and go like, dude, it's not that you can't read or that you don't like reading. It's like you're just not doing it right. Everybody else seems to enjoy reading. So you must be doing something wrong. And sure enough, there's a lot of things that I'm doing wrong. And just the first week, my speed reading coach, shout out to David, he's a listener of the podcast. He has his at David Reads Fast on Instagram. He has like basically demonstrated to me, and I was processing this ahead of time. So I kind of like came in understanding that I was doing it wrong in the fact that I'm reading every single word. Words are important to me. I've mentioned that before. And like I'm moving my eyes first off like 1,000 times a page for every single word. And I'm trying to like construct an idea in my head, one word at a time, as opposed to being really rhythmic with the way that my eyes flow across the page, processing phrases at a time or even full sentences at a time. And that allows the entire process to be far less like energy intensive and a far more effortless. And I'm only a week in, but I would say reading this week I've been reading every day.
Yep, every day.
Every single day this week, even starting before like the class has started. And it's like far easier. It's far more enjoyable. I'm understanding things, I think the first time around, as opposed to like having to go back and like reread, because I just wasn't. He said the way a person processes the world is similar to the way they process reading. If I process the world differently, which I would say I kind of do, in the way I'm perceiving it and then taking that information in and then making sense of it, then I'm doing the same thing when it comes to a book. So it seems like, oh, well, reading is like a matter of intelligence and smarts and your brain, but it's really like, again, if I can grow my legs to be jacked and fast, then like I can make my brain process information differently. It's literally a matter of the mechanics of it. So how does my eye move on the page?
Do you think, so sorry, because you were saying that he says to like read the sentence like rhythm, and again, like you describing this, I'm just like, yeah, like that's how you read. Like, you just like read across something else you do. And I noticed it this weekend when we were reading together, you like sit and your head moves
my whole
with
head
each
moves,
sentence. I was able
rather
to like
than my eyes
follow where
moving.
you were looking.
Yeah, I know.
So that was interesting. But then again, you said that to read like the whole sentence, but you're also very into words and like rap lyrics specifically. And I think your ability to understand a lyric and the double entendre of rap is because you are so focused on the words.
Each individual word.
So I think that's why you're so good at it. Like, you're an editor on rapgenius.com, which
that is why. Like, I know that those words were chosen for a reason, but what it does is it just makes it that much more challenging and intensive to construct an entire idea when I'm reading it word for word and trying to extract as much meaning out of each word as possible, which like there's probably an advantage to that, but it makes it really taxing, energetically while you're reading, especially when my head is turning and I'm not just using my eyes. So again, there's like literally, it's the mechanics of it. It starts with the mechanics of reading. How my eyes are moving was wrong. From there, it's a matter of, okay, well, now that you understand how to move your eyes, now you have to get the reps down, move it, like do it over, over the course of books and books, and now that rhythm becomes even more fluid.
Yeah.
Your peripheral vision opens up more, so you can see more words at one time. And what you're doing is what I'm doing now is like I'm absorbing that information and building a picture or an abstract idea in my brain, phrases at a time, as instead of as opposed to words at a time. And maybe people are listening and they're like, well, yeah, dummy, like that's how you read. And it's like, well, I just learned how to read, I guess, because like, I did not. I am 37 years old. I went to law school. I graduated law school, and I'm just now learning how to read. And it's like, well, I mean, it's funny. Like, you think in like kindergarten or whatever, you think you learn how to read, but really you just learn letters and then how to construct them into words and then how to read a word. And like I just have been doing that. Yeah,
you haven't been reading like the sentence.
Yeah, to the point where my speed reading coach was like, so like, do you have to like he was basically like, so do you have to sound words out? And I was like, no, like I can look at a word and know what the word is. The problem is that like I spend like
oh shit, what did I sign up for with this one?
I do not have to sound out words. There was a word this week that I did actually have to like sound out, but it was one word in the book that I'm reading.
What book are you reading?
I'm reading The Way of the Superior Man, which if there's anybody out there that is looking for a book and you haven't read that one, man or woman, that's the book for you. It is honestly beautiful. It is couldn't be more like relevant for me personally in this part of my life right now. So get out there and read The Way of the Superior Man. I wish I could remember the author's name, but I can't.
Next week, tell him.
Yeah, but that's
when you finish the book.
I'm doing a book a week for 6 weeks, just like I'm picking up my pace when it comes to running and sprinting and hill sprints and all of that, and my legs are getting in better shape, and I'm still not giving up on my squats and my heavy deadlifts and all of that. I am adding one more new skill to the repertoire speed reading, which will allow me to absorb information from the universe at a faster rate to use at my disposal, leverage that for myself, for my relationships, for my business, and just become even more of a superhero.
There you go. Can I still do book reports, though?
I would love it if we, that makes it doubly fast, if not more so.
I read a book while you're reading a book.
Yeah.
You'll get double info.
If for those of you who missed the first episode, up to this point, Puzel's the one who reads the books. We go on walks, and then she gives me book reports on the books. So that's how I've been getting.
I love to read. I've always loved to read.
And she's great at it, and she's fast. So that's how I've been getting book knowledge up to this point. Is through Puzel's walking book reports, but now I can read my book. I can give you a book report, and now we're doubling the rate at which we're learning.
Yeah,
That's
we're
amazing.
doing it this weekend. We found time in between working and getting our workouts in and everything. We found time to get by the pools and read our books and hang out, which was really nice. Mm-hmm. And we went and saw Dead Mouse.
We saw Dead Mouse on Saturday at Concourse Project, and it was so much fun.
Oh my God, it was so fun.
We were invited by...
The fourth or fifth time seeing him?
Yeah, something like that. We were invited by some friends. Mm-hmm. There was actually a friend and then a group of people that we had just met on Saturday, and they were great. There was so much fun, and I was really happy to that we got the invite because we had so much fun there. I guess like the biggest takeaway from me from that night was the great people. Mm-hmm. The music was awesome. Had a blast. Not only were we at a table, but our other friends were at a table right next to us. So we were like kind of back and forth and really enjoying ourselves. But we were at Pershing first for a couple drinks and some dinner with the group. And then we went to the Concourse Project, and there was a table. And the entire night I had... Well, I guess technically it's 3.5 drinks. I had 2 drinks at Pershing. Mm-hmm. We got to Concourse. I had 1 tequila, and I was like, I'm done. And then we went to our other friend's table, and they had a bottle of Dom. And they're like, take a glass. I was like, I kind of don't want one. And eventually they just like forced it on me. And I drank like half the... They did. Like I was like...
I was also asked, and I said no.
Yeah, no, I said no like 3 times. And then they eventually handed it to me, and I like drank half of it, and I'm like, I kind of don't want this. And I just like gave it to you. I was like, I don't want to drink this anymore. And I think that was kind of a huge takeaway. Was like, man, on a Saturday. Granted, I was smoking weed and I was on mushrooms. Yeah. But like 3 drinks on a Saturday night.
I had 1.
Really, the entire night.
I had 1 at Pershing.
That was it.
And then that half of the Dom you gave me because I was.
You were tripping pretty good on the mushrooms, though. You were.
Oh my God, I was having so much fun.
I was in a great place, and it wasn't like I felt like I was getting too drunk or anything. It was just like I'm at a place now where it's like again 3 drinks is good with me. I was fine, and I just didn't want to like keep drinking tequila at the table. I was like, I'm good. Oh, I know. I'm like dancing. I'm enjoying myself. I'm vibing with the music. Like I don't have to.
And the lights were going.
Let loose
anymore.
My
gosh, it was so good.
So that's something that. I think kind of plays into what we're going to be discussing today, which is like we talked a few weeks ago about, alcohol and how in the past, like we wouldn't drink during the week and then we would go out on the weekends. And if we were drinking, we were like drinking pretty heavily. Yeah. But like
we were there
most of the time, like we wouldn't drink. But like when we did drink, we were drinking hard. And I'm at a place now where like I just have zero interest in drinking hard. I almost can't picture like a situation where I'd be at where I'd like want to be getting like really drunk.
Yeah, and like especially now with knowing how our bodies are going to like react to alcohol, not like a hangover sense, but the inflammation and just how you feel afterwards. Yeah. But then also like if you're doing these other modalities, like these different plant medicines, like I didn't want to mess with like what was happening in my brain and like cause my inhibitions to change.
Modalities of getting fucked up.
Exactly. Well, it is.
I know.
But I enjoyed the lights, the music, the energy more versus like if I drank more alcohol.
Dulls it all.
It dulls it. Yeah. And I would have been like, then just, I didn't want to mix and like mess with it.
Yeah,
so
I don't blame you.
I was totally happy.
I didn't either. I was vibing 3 drinks in. Plus a half a glass of Dom that I passed off to you. So you had a glass. You had
I said a
one
half
and
a
a half.
glass.
Yeah.
I said 1.5. Don't you worry.
But I mean, I think like that leads really well into like what we're here to talk about today, which is like our fitness journey. Which like I guess from a early days like didn't have much understanding of fitness or how that worked, and then got really strict with ourselves.
So let's start then from kind of the beginning, since we've been together since high school.
Yes, we have.
20 years. I say let's talk then about where we were at in high school. Kind of what
Yeah.
did we look like? What was our intention with working out? Did we work out? That kind of thing.
Yeah, you start.
Okay, so I played sports, but like wasn't like, oh, I'm going to play like sports for college and professional
Yeah.
or anything like that. But you just did sports because that's what you did in high school. And then working out was, at least for like my generation versus like I look at my nieces now who are in high school. My generation was like females did cardio, like you ran, you did spinning, or like a yoga. Like there was no like weight training.
Uh-huh.
And now I see my nieces, and like my one niece is doing like pistol squats like with ease. Like she's like so strong, her legs are so toned. And I'm like, God damn, like why didn't I like do that in high school? But again, whatever. But my working out was just cardio, yoga, spinning. That's about it.
Okay. And
So-
what about like your health and fitness in general?
And then I would say, so that would be the working out and like the fitness, and then just overall like dietary wise, it was an extreme of like I wasn't eating clean, or I was like like really restricting my calories. I remember like for lunch I would have a salad. It was a Caesar salad from the lunch cafeteria, but it was essentially I would not get any dressing, no cheese, grilled chicken, and it was just grilled chicken and lettuce.
Yeah.
Like no dressing, nothing, like extremely restricted calories, essentially like starvation, and with like a lot of cardio. So very unhealthy.
Yeah, but then like it's not like that's all you were eating as a teenager.
No,
you were
but that
eating
was-
like junk food on the
course,
rest
yeah.
of the time, just like most
Yeah,
kids do.
exactly. So it was like a mix of like the extreme of like
Yeah.
not caring about what calories and what food I was putting into my body, or being extremely restricted.
Yeah, and like not, and like almost like punishing yourself
Mm-hmm.
for like the other food with like by eating like lettuce for lunch
Exactly.
or whatever.
Exactly.
I definitely was growing up, like I didn't diet at all or
Mm-hmm.
anything. I think like one thing that's important to point out is I feel like in New Jersey and for Italian families especially, like I always say like food is a love language.
Uh-huh.
And it certainly was a love language in my family, and it's kind of like that's how you get together, that's how you show love, that's how you like mingle and chat is like over food. And it's always like, again, it's an Italian family, so it's usually not just like a Caesar salad or
No,
something
yeah.
like that. It's usually an extravagant like feast of some
Yeah.
sort with pasta and all kinds of stuff. And
I mean, I'm pretty sure my parents would make like pasta like 5 out of the 7 nights.
Yeah.
Like
exactly. So it's like you're eating lettuce for dinner and then
Yeah.
you're eating just like pasta at night,
Yeah.
or
Or
lettuce for lunch
there's
and then
always
pasta. for dinner.
pasta or like cutlets or something ready
Yeah.
to go in the fridge.
Yep. And like I
Good old
definitely,
Jersey.
I lived the same way, and like we had soda in the house
Uh-huh.
and like fruit roll-ups and all,
Oh,
and
God.
cereal and all that kind of junk. So I never like really watched what I ate growing up. In high school, I played football. I threw the shot put for track. I was the strongest kid in my high school. And I was like working out, and I would say like I was husky. I was like a husky kid. But I was like really strong, and I was doing enough activity that I was, especially at that age, burning off like plenty of calories. That was, and then we got together at the end of high school, towards the end of high school, for me at least. And then once I graduated from high school, I didn't have sports anymore. I wasn't really interested in going to like I'm 5'8" on a good day, so I didn't have much prospects as far as sports were concerned. Even though like I wasn't like necessarily bad or like unathletic, I just, when you're 5'8", there's few colleges that are looking for you for like football. That just isn't how it works.
So many things I could say, but I'm gonna bite my tongue.
You what? What are you gonna say? You can say it. Say it.
No.
I have no idea what you're gonna say.
Like playing sports in like Munchkin Land or something.
Yeah. Okay. Good one. Very funny. Okay.
I love
Very
you.
funny. I love you too. Luckily, that doesn't bother me all that
I know.
much. Maybe back then it would have. It probably would have back then.
Really?
Maybe. So yeah, like it just wasn't something that I even like pursued or was interested in pursuing. So when I graduated, I was still eating the way that I was, but I had no reason to work out, and I stopped working out. Oh, it was definitely.
I feel
it definitely
like
got worse.
when we were in our late teens, early 20s, it was,
Yeah.
we were going to the movies, like we'd go out to dinner, we'd go to like TGI
TGI Fridays.
and get like like the
Jack Daniel's
the
chicken
Jack Daniel's.
chicken strips.
Oh my
Yeah, we get a
God,
lot of those.
I love those.
I ate my weight in Jack Daniel's chicken strips from TGI Fridays at like 18 years old, for
and
sure.
then go to the movies, get popcorn, get candy. Like,
Yeah.
then we'd eat ice cream at home. Like, we were so not
We were
taking
really,
care of
really
ourselves.
bad. We
It
were
was
really, really
disgusting.
bad. To the
I
point-
look back at it, I'm like, ew.
Yeah, so to the point where like that year, especially that I was out of college, or out of high school into college, I like blew up to like 280 pounds. I got like way, way, way out of shape. And at that time, like obviously you got out of shape too.
Yeah, because that would have been my senior year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have literally one photo of us during that
Yeah.
time because I think like shortly thereafter I like torched every picture that I had of us where we were where we were fat. And I had to ask my sister to send me like, I'm like, what do you have of me like from that era? Like I want something that like shows what I looked like. And I got one photo, so maybe I'll like try to clip it in here if I
for
can.
sure.
I have no idea. So right now, maybe it's up on the screen. We'll see. I'm not sure. We'll see. If not, I apologize.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, but yeah, that's like the only photo that I have, and I don't even remember.
Yeah, like what was it that?
I have no idea what clicked,
Yeah.
but I just know one day I would. And honestly, the only thing I kind of remember is looking at a photo of us when we were in New York, and the photo I'm going to show is us in New York, but it's not the
It's
same.
not that one?
It's not the same picture.
I wonder if I have any photos even at home.
I don't know.
I might.
But I just remember being like, this isn't right now.
Yeah.
Like we can't like keep doing this. And I was doing.
Yeah, can you imagine what like if we didn't change
I know.
with like our genetics?
Oh, I know. It would have been bad. It would have been really bad because we both come from like families that are, have
Yeah,
obesity
struggle,
and are
yeah,
overweight.
absolutely.
But also like, is that genetic or is it the fact that again they're from like Italian families and like eating is like a thing that you like overeating is a thing
Yeah.
that you do. So it could be either. But definitely realize like we got to kick it into gear. And I don't remember much about my decision making process. I just remember like the steps that I went through. And I remember the first thing I did was I took a before and after. You took before and after or before pictures of me, I guess. You took before pictures of me at like 280 pounds. Looked disgusting. And then I had like a little whiteboard in my bedroom, and I just wrote excellence at the top of it. And then I put my weight, and every week I would, on the Friday morning, weigh myself completely naked, get on the scale, weigh myself. My goal was to lose 1 pound to 2 pounds every week, which I did. And just continuously every week mark down what that new weight was.
What kind of changes did you make in that initial?
So number one was working out every day. That was like, or no, I would say 5 days a week without fail. Every single weekday I was working out. I think one of the first things I did was like I cut out soda and like just like junk food in general, like things that I knew weren't good for me, like desserts and sweets and stuff like that. I just know from there, like I progressively started to like cut back on bad shit more and more and more, to the point where as I was seeing significant progress,
Yeah.
and I lost a considerable amount of weight in, let's say, like 6 to 9 months.
And I'll never forget, I went away because this was probably, I think this was like the spring of my senior year. You started to like make some changes. We were getting more active. We were going on bike rides.
That's probably right.
I went away for a like a long weekend, like summer conference or like some type of conference like in May, like a high school program thing. And I remember like leaving you on Thursday and coming back on Monday. And like there was and I'm just remembering this now.
I don't
Like there
remember
was
this at all.
a difference
Really?
in you in just like 5 days, because like the like that bloat, that water weight, like all of it was just like starting to like fall off pretty easily. And I remember just like in 5 days I was like, wow, like he looks like,
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
But and again, like it's so funny because like I've almost like wiped most of this part from my brain. I remember like the real broad strokes of it. I remember
Yeah.
weighing in. I remember writing down the number. I remember excellence on the thing. I remember working really hard, and eventually, like after like 6 or 9 months, I remember I was at the gym, and a personal trainer at the gym, big monstrous guy, with like crazy eyes, but super friendly and
Super
warm,
nice. Yeah.
basically came up to me and he was like, and this is a guy I've seen at the gym all the time, but I was like 19, and he's like a big like kind of scary looking guy, especially like from who I was at that age versus like who this guy
like
was.
a Jersey meathead.
Yeah,
essentially.
total Jersey
like
meathead. Like a 6'7" Jersey
huge.
meathead that would probably weighed like 350 pounds. Like he was a big guy. And he just had like won a bodybuilding competition and he was a personal trainer, and he came up to me and he was like, "You're working out hard. I see you're making progress. You have really good muscle mass. You have the potential to put on a lot of muscle mass."
Good form.
And I was always strong, so I already did have muscle mass. Like that was always something that I had to begin with, like throughout high school because I was working. And he was like, "You should do a bodybuilding competition. You would be great at it." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to take steroids." And he's like, "We're going to do a natural one." And the gym that we went to, the owner, he was really heavily involved. He was like the top natural bodybuilding champion.
This guy couldn't wear jeans.
Yeah, he had the thickest
He had
legs.
the thickest legs.
Yeah.
He couldn't find jeans.
Thicker than mine. Thicker
Like,
legs than mine.
I mean, oh my God.
So this
they
is two
were
different people.
huge.
So my trainer was not the guy who owned the gym, but the guy who owned the gym was like very much involved in the
Yes.
natural bodybuilding world, and he was in incredible shape. So I was like, I was kind of like, I had never had an interest in bodybuilding or doing bodybuilding like as a sport or as a competition whatsoever, but I was being consistent, I was being dedicated, and I was kind of like, okay. He was just kind of like nagging me about it, and he was gracious enough to do it for free, which was really awesome. He was
Really?
just,
I didn't realize that was
I
for
did not
free.
have to pay him at all. He
Oh
didn't
yeah, we
charge
took
me
him
a
out to
dime.
like a steak dinner
Yeah,
afterwards.
we took him to like
Yeah.
Longhorn Steakhouse or something. But he coached me. We got in on the diet. So this is like probably again 9 months in to my like weight loss journey. So I'm already looking good. I'm already leaning down quite a bit.
And you're finding the right people to coach you and guide you.
Yep. Well, they found me.
Yeah, sure.
So I just sort of like more or less, he almost basically just like forced me into being a bodybuilder. He just started like training me whether I wanted to or not, I think is really the way that it started happening. And then for 5 months, I was in like hardcore natural bodybuilding mode. Lost even more weight, got leaned up, learned a lot more about like physical fitness during that time and like how your body reacts to different exercises and how, different small adjustments can make a big difference in the way that you're growing and the way you're getting stronger and the way your muscles are responding. Plus learned a lot about diet.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind that the diet for a bodybuilding competition is like literally starving yourself. Yeah. I would watch during that time. So when I was losing the initial weight, when I wasn't bodybuilding, it was, I was like, it was tough and I was working really hard, but it wasn't miserable. But then once you start the dieting for the real bodybuilding stuff, I was legitimately starving myself.
Yeah.
You're eating like 5 times a day or 6 times a day or whatever, but it's like the smallest, littlest meals. And I was watching, this is not a joke, I was watching food porn. I was watching.
That is, I think, a category.
It was. I was watching Food Network every single day, like day and night. It was the only television that I was watching, and I was watching it like it was porn. Like I was like sitting there, like on the couch, like salivating because I just was so hungry. I was literally starving, and like I had no interest in doing anything aside from like eating, working out, and going to sleep.
Yeah.
I was like dragging ass through my college classes during that time, and it was. I say to this day that was the hardest thing that I've ever done is like getting through those 5 grueling months of working out really hard, doing like double.
Yeah, because you would go and do
sessions.
like your cardio, you would do lifting.
Yeah.
I remember there was one day didn't you like leave your sneakers at home and you had to you still had to get your cardio in, so you walked barefoot. I think on the treadmill and ended up getting like a shit ton of blisters on the bottom of your feet.
I just like wasn't going to let anything stop me.
Like talk about like dedication and discipline, and like that's a huge foundation.
Yeah.
Like during that time is because like you were like, I have set my mind to something. I have a goal, and like
nothing was going to stop me. I was not going to let any excuse prevent me from doing it. I had come that far, and I was like, somebody else is going to work that day. Somebody else is going to be on the treadmill that day. Like I can't let somebody else be on the treadmill if I'm not.
Yeah. And it was nice during that time too, because while you're going through that, it just naturally like rolled into me, because obviously like we weren't going out to dinners, we weren't doing this. So I was like, okay, like I'll start eating clean too. And we'd have like chicken and rice and do like very lighter meals. And so it was naturally just kind of becoming part of
Yeah.
my life. And then if you had cardio to go do, or you need to go do a walk or a bike ride, like we were just doing it
Yep.
together. And so like, again, part of like a fitness journey together.
Yep. So, and I was like very, very dedicated. So
Yeah.
you kind of didn't have a choice. It was either
Yeah.
like, you were either going to like leave me or you were going to kind of like go along with it. It was one or the other, to the point where, and again, this is like, isn't healthy, like just to be
Yeah, it's
clear,
not,
like
yeah.
what I'm about to say like isn't, like I was so dedicated to my goal and I was like so strict with myself about like what I was allowing myself to eat and what I wasn't. Like it was literally like I wouldn't let myself eat before like a certain minute on the clock. I like was having nightmares about like that I drank soda. Like I was only
yeah.
drinking water and protein shakes during that time. So I would like wake up in the morning and be like in a cold sweat, like thinking that like I drank soda, like a bottle of soda or
Wow.
something like that, being like, oh my God, like I cheated. And it's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Also, like, why, like, how could that, like that is that upsetting to you? But I was that like dedicated.
Yeah.
And then every week I was just checking off the weight or I guess like updating my weight,
Yeah.
1 or 2 pounds at a time, dropping it week after week. And what's so funny?
Just thinking of like it was like towards the end of for your show, and like probably like the week before, and we're in the kitchen at your house and your mom saw you, and I mean because at this point you were what, like 175?
It was just above 175, yeah.
And I mean, just like shredded and lean, and like your cheeks were so sunken
Yeah.
in, and your mom was terrified of you. She was like, "You look yellow. What's wrong? You're unhealthy." And
I don't remember that either.
Oh
Dude,
my
like
God.
I
I
somehow
think you
like
were. Yeah,
I
you
somehow like wiped these couple years from my like memory somehow.
Yeah.
It's very
She
strange.
was so freaked out from looking
don't
at you. I mean,
remember
you
that.
did look sick. You were emaciated.
Yeah. I feel like I genuinely feel like to some extent my memory came back like the night of the bodybuilding competition.
Yeah, when you were able to eat again.
When I was able to eat it. I'm
I know.
seriously not joking about that. But even like, again, that whole year leading up even was also
Yeah.
like, I don't have much memory
I
about
have
that.
so much memory about that day of the show.
Yeah. So the span between me just for whatever reason deciding like I have to lose weight and me and the bodybuilding competition was about 14 months.
Mm-hmm.
In those 14 months, I went from 280 pounds to 175 pounds. I stepped on stage at 174.5. I was shredded. I was in great shape.
Yeah.
I won. So even though it was the most like miserable, grueling thing I've ever done, I have my trophies to show
we were
for
supposed
it.
to
I was
bring
gonna
them.
the
We'll put
trophies,
those
but I
on
don't.
the-
Yeah,
we'll-
maybe I'll put a clip up of my trophies too, because they're right behind me on my desk.
Yeah.
Again, I'm really, really proud that I have those, and I swore I would never do a bodybuilding competition again. That was all I needed. But what that taught me, because that's a crazy transformation.
For sure.
In a year to go from 180 and being like really
280.
just 280. Sorry, in a year from going from 280 pounds to 175 pounds and winning a bodybuilding competition is naturally without steroids and with just like hard work. It taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about how no matter how ridiculous something seems, if you have a plan, if you are consistent, if you put in really hard work day in and day out, if you have a great coach, and if you just don't let excuses get in the way of your end goal, then anything is possible. And that's what I have done ever since then when it comes to our relationship, when it comes to my career, when it comes to running a business. Anything that I have set my mind to, I just go like, well, you just don't make excuses. You just do the work, you put the effort in, and then things come out beautifully on the other end. And that is where I built my discipline and my mindset from, was that experience. And it was an invaluable experience. Has really made me who I am today in so many ways. And I'm really, Hesh Donnerstag is the name of the personal trainer. I have not seen him in a decade or more.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I love him for everything that he did for
Yeah,
me
he
during
taught
that
you.
time. It was really like, I don't know where I would be. Like, I'll say like, there's one thing, like, I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for you, of course, but
Yeah.
like, even with that, if we didn't make those changes, if I didn't make those changes during that time, we would be in a much, much worse place, like
Absolutely.
as people,
Because
without
we
a
wouldn't
doubt.
have put the importance of like fitness and health in the forefront.
Yeah.
because again, that's the base for now everything we do in our life. Is because we have that discipline, we have that consistency, we hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have what we have now if we didn't start like really focusing on our fitness and health.
Exactly.
And it's not even just for, like, a lot of people think like, oh, like fit just to be healthy and like look good in a bathing suit and this and that, but like longevity is what it's all about. Like, I want to live to like 90, 100 years old, but I don't want to be bedbound.
Yeah.
I want to be up. I want to be moving. I want to be deadlifting when I'm like 85 years old.
You will be.
I know I will be, but that's what it's like. It's all about like doing it day in and day out, some type of movement, some type of activity, weight training, 4 or 5 days a week. But just, it really is very helpful and healthy.
Of course.
And you should be doing it. Some type of movement. Get up and move.
I tell my clients, like, one of the things I say, like, my overall philosophy when it comes to true fitness and focus, baseline philosophy for my business is that a healthy body is the foundation of a best overall quality of life. If you have a healthier body, if you're doing the things that it takes to be healthy, to work out, to push yourself, to push yourself through discomfort and strain yourself where you are getting to the point of like growing as a result, or getting faster as a result, or getting stronger as a result. What that's doing is you're not only, and obviously eating healthy as well with the proper diet, you're not only building a healthy body, you're building a healthy mind. What I mean by that is both literally and like figuratively in some ways. Literally in the sense that your brain is your body. If your lungs and your muscles and your heart get stronger from eating right and working out, well, guess what? Your brain is literally an organ in your body too, and all of that stuff benefits your brain at the same time. Whether you like look at it that way or not, like it's a fact of the matter. Your brain is your body. So you are what you eat. Healthier body means a healthier brain, but it also means a healthier mind figuratively, in the sense that all the things that you do in the gym, being consistent, pushing yourself through discomfort, doing the thing that you don't want to do when you know that you have to in order to achieve your goal, that is all building the mental muscle of discipline, the same mental muscle that I built during that year when I dropped over 100 pounds and won a bodybuilding competition. All of those mental muscles that are being built, what that does is it allows you to make better decisions throughout the course of your life.
Yeah.
And when I say that you make better decisions, a lot of people hear like big life decisions, like the person that I should marry, or the job that I should take, or the place that I should move to. But those are big decisions. You're making a decision every moment of your life. Literally every moment of your life is a decision to act or to not act, to change the path you're on or to stay on the current path, to go left or go right, to start something, to stop something. Every moment is a decision, and all of those little decisions are the things that add up and compound over time for you to make the big picture life decisions. And you only get to make those decisions because of all the little decisions that compounded up to that point. So healthy body, healthy mind, better decision making, better overall quality of life. And I mean that. And that is what I have learned through my experience. And that is what I tell my clients, like, my goal is for you.
Yeah. I think something also we should touch upon is, you mentioned it earlier about the excuses.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to talk about that. And then I also want to kind of go back to the abundance restrictive kind of mindsets also that we both had.
Yeah.
So excuses.
Yeah.
So again, you're talking about making decisions, and so you can say like, oh, I want to go to the gym today, but this and this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like, obviously, again, not good decisions, but because you're coming up with excuses. And I think you have a very interesting take on excuses.
I've said before, discipline is a matter of sticking to your principles as opposed to sticking to practicality. So you know who you want to be. You know what you would need to do to be the person that you want to be. Like, what actions would you need to take to be the person that you want to be? And you can obviously take those actions and be that person, or you can make excuses and fall to the more practical matter of doing things, or you could say like the more comfortable way of doing things, the frictionless way of doing things, the tensionless way of doing things, and take the easy route. And that will be the practical way. And the difference between your principles the difference between choosing between your principles and practicality is a matter of just simply the excuse that you tell yourself. The excuse you tell yourself, and that is completely in your head. It is completely bullshit. And the more you allow your excuses to drag you down to practicality, you are building those neural pathways to just allow excuse after excuse to taint you and tear you down and tarnish your future, ultimately, and tarnish your ability to be the person that you want to be.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like that's basically what an excuse is. It's the thing that makes you choose practicality over your principles. And there's like two sides to that coin. You can be the person who you go to the gym, you get really pumped about it for a week, a month, maybe 2 months, whatever it is. Everybody's different. And then eventually you go, this is it now. Like I'm on this path. But eventually like you have a day where like you just don't feel like it. Mm-hmm. All right. Or your back hurts, or you had a
bad day at work, you had a bad meeting,
day at work, or whatever stupid excuse you're using that day. I'm not going to get too heated this time. I don't have the energy. I'm not going to go into rant mode.
Is that an excuse?
No, I just don't feel like it. I just don't feel like it today. Maybe I will. We'll see. I can feel it building up.
Or because I just called you out on it.
I feel it building up in here, so maybe I will. We'll see. Where was I? Excuses. You can say like, I'm not going to go to the gym today. So you're gonna do it for however long, and then eventually that day is going to happen. Know why? Because you were motivated. Motivated is an emotion. If you're letting your emotions bring you into the gym, then guess what? You're going to let your emotions take you out of the gym when you have a shitty day. Here I go. So don't let your emotions be the thing that dictates you to go to the gym. Build the mental muscle of discipline. Discipline over motivation every single time.
Yep.
Motivation is fleeting. Whether it's your bad day at work.
Why do you say motivation is fleeting?
Because it's an emotion. Emotions are fleeting.
Okay.
If you're motivated and super high energy and you're rah about getting into the gym, that same dip in emotions or that same wave of emotions on the other end when you are having a bad day, when your wife is arguing with you, when your boss was a dickhead, when you didn't get sleep the night before, that is all an opportunity for your emotions to sway you in the other direction. Mm-hmm. So like if you're letting your emotions get you in the gym, you're going to let your emotions take you out of the gym.
Gotcha.
And what I'm saying is that it can't be a matter of your emotions. And excuses are just your logical way of justifying your shitty emotions.
Yeah.
So, and like you'll tell yourself like, well, no, this is different this time because I'm really like fired up about it today. Yeah, you're really fired up about it today.
Mm-hmm. Where if it was part of like your discipline and your routine, like this is what I do.
Yeah.
Then you're going to stick to it.
Exactly.
Because it's who you are.
Or if you just don't let excuses get in your way. Yeah. So to get back to the excuses thing, what I think is a really great practice is if we're thinking about it that way, that the more you allow your excuses to taint your decision making, the more those excuses just become your repetitive pattern of behavior. So you do it for a couple months, you let an excuse take you out one day because you were tired. The next time you're tired, you have already set the precedent for yourself to use that as an excuse to not go to the gym today. Then the next time you're tired, you don't. And guess what? Now you find yourself looking for reasons to be tired so that you don't go to the gym because you know that if you're tired, it means that you can give yourself the out. Mm-hmm. Or your back hurts one day and you go, oh, my back's a little sore today. Maybe I'll take today off. And then now you're looking for your back to hurt. Yeah. The reasons you don't go to the gym are never good reasons. It's never like, I'm so happy today. I have so much energy today that I'm not going to go to the gym. It's always something bad. It's always, I had a bad day at work. My boss was an asshole. My wife is whatever. My back hurts.
My husband's whatever.
But now your life becomes looking for excuses to get out of the thing that you don't want to do. Just say you don't want to do it. If you just can admit to yourself that you're not going to the gym because you don't want to today, well, now we're actually at like the real excuse, and then we can take it from there as to where we want to go. At the same time, if you are tired one day, or your back does hurt one day, or your husband is an asshole one day, and you still go to the gym, now you've done the opposite. Now you've set the precedent for yourself that I will go to the gym on these days that I really don't want to. And then what you do is you're proving to yourself that that was bullshit. That possible excuse that you could have told yourself that could have gotten you out of the gym, that was bullshit and it didn't matter. I could have told myself that I didn't have shoes that day and that I wasn't going to get on the treadmill. But you know what? I got on the fucking treadmill without my goddamn shoes because that's what it takes to live by your principles and not by practicality.
And even when, so you are having those bad days or you're having that low energy, even getting into the gym and doing some type of movement, being around other people working on themselves, picking up their energy of bettering themselves is going to give you a positive feeling. You're going to kind of forget about that shitty conversation or whatever's happening because you're moving your body, you're getting your endorphins going, you feel good, you feel better.
Yeah. And people be like, give yourself grace, take it easy. Sometimes you just need a day off. It's like, maybe you do. I haven't missed a single workout since I started losing weight. Since I wrote excellence on my whiteboard and I put 280 pounds, I've not missed a single planned workout ever. Now, that doesn't mean I don't take rest days. I take 2 rest days a week. But I worked out 5 days a week every single week since I was 19 years old. That is an absolute fact. You could fact check me on that. If I have a vacation that I'm going on, I get my workouts in ahead of time, or I schedule them after, or I schedule them during. I will not let any excuse get in my way. Now, you might go, well, that's a little extreme, whatever. Like, okay, maybe that's
the extreme.
I'm not quite done with the excuse thing yet. We might say, like, that's extreme, and I understand that, and maybe that's not, but, like, the thing is, like, then that's not your principle. You can have a different principle than me. My principle is that I work out 5 days a week. I'm a person who works out 5 days a week, and no excuse, no practicality, no sense of comfort is going to take me off that path. If you want to let it take it off your path, if you want those excuses to take you off your path, you're more than welcome to. I won't. So what I think is a really good practice when it comes to excuses is before you start anything, whatever you're going to do, let's say it's working out, for example, I want you to, in a notebook, write down every single excuse that you could think of as to why you wouldn't, let's say, work out one day. And those excuses could be as minimal as I stubbed my toe, or I didn't get 8 hours of sleep last night, or I have an email to send, or they could be as extreme as I had a death in the family, or I broke my leg, or I broke my back, or we had to put my dog down today. Something like that. Like, I want you to think about literally everything, from everything on the spectrum and in between, or on the ends of the spectrum and in between. Once you make that list, on a scale of 1 to 5, I want you to rate every single excuse. 1 being this would never keep me from going to the gym. 5 being this would absolutely stop me from going to the gym. Like nuclear war would probably stop you from going to the gym, and that's understandable. And then once you list each and every excuse and you rate them 1 to 5, now you could say, okay, what excuse, what number would prevent me from going to the gym? And hopefully that's like a 4, right? And now what you're doing is you're kind of getting ahead of all of these excuses before you allow them to impact you on a day-to-day basis. So now it's like when you do have that day, that rough day at work where things just don't go your way and you're feeling a little drained, and you could go to the happy hour or go home, or you could decide, you know what, I'm going to the gym today. You can look at that and go, I said I wasn't going to skip the gym unless it was a 4. I put being tired after work as a 1. I should probably go to the gym today. And now what you do is you mark that off. Now you've just proven to yourself that whenever you're tired after work, you can still get your workout in. And guess what? When you're done, you're going to be really happy that you went to the gym. What I would say from that point is, after you scratch off that one, because it's no longer an excuse that's valid for you, write down how you felt after the gym.
Yeah.
Write a note to your future self saying, hey, today was a 1. I was pretty tired. I went to the gym. I'm really happy I did. So next time you're thinking about it, don't do it. Don't skip it. Eventually, you'll probably hit a 3 or a 4 on your excuses. And now you've leveled so many other excuses and eliminated so many other excuses that when you hit a 3 or you hit a 4, now it's like, dude, those 1s and 2s, those are not even like on your radar as excuses anymore. And now you've just proven to yourself that all of those other excuses were literally just head bullshit that were preventing you from becoming the best version of yourself that you were telling yourself. And you have an entire diary of excuses and days that you could have made excuses to prove to you that your excuses were bullshit every single time. Every single time. So that is my excuses, I guess, practice or belief or philosophy.
Yeah, and I like that idea too of having, once you scratch that excuse off, you're reflecting on how you then felt after.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, it's going to, like, that's yourself now talking to your future self.
Yep.
That's a really great idea.
I do not allow excuses. That is one thing I don't allow. Telling myself I can't read is an excuse. Telling myself that I'm too muscular to run long distances is an excuse. Guess what? I've been crushing excuses my entire adult life. And it's been working out for me. Yeah. So get over your excuses. Head shit. It's head shit. So you wanted, let's talk about the balance stuff because we could do like another 10.
Okay. Because I think it is a very important piece to say because it seems like extremes, like, you know, no days off, this and that. Like, let's talk about where we are now versus where we used to be with our working out, with our diet.
Yeah. So it was kind of like I went from that one extreme to the other. If you'll see, if I do put up the photos here, the first photo where I'm fat in New York City, where we're fat in New York City, obviously not healthy. The photo where I'm a bodybuilder on stage winning a championship, ripped, wearing a whole lot of tanner, also not healthy. I was starving myself. Like my mom was scared of me. I looked like a zombie. Like I have photos of me from that day and I like look like the life is like sucked out of me. I'm so like emaciated. That's not healthy. And for a really long time, like obviously like after I did my bodybuilding competition, I went back to eating like I guess you could say like a normal person, sort of, like certainly not eating like a bodybuilder, but both of us were both really strict about our diets where Monday through Friday, we would eat incredibly routinely. We would not allow ourselves to go out. We were never drinking Monday through Friday.
We like missed out on like events because it's like, oh no, it's nope, it's during the week. I won't go do anything.
Wouldn't go do stuff during the week unless like it was something like particularly special.
But even then there was like that guilt and like that fear of like, fuck, I'm going to go eat or drink something that's not part of my routine and what like I'm allowed to do. Yeah. And it restricted.
I turned 21 while I was training for the bodybuilding competition, and I didn't drink until after. I didn't have a beer until after my bodybuilding competition. Yeah. So like I turned 21, and I didn't go out to a bar when I turned 21. I was home eating grilled chicken. I wouldn't have had the energy to go out anyway if I wanted to. So that's where we were like for a while. It was like we were like way too restrictive, and then throughout our 20s. As time went on, we realized like, okay, like we can go out on a weekday. Now it just means that on the weekend we kind of like make up for it. But we were still like forcing a balance. For sure. We would during the week again be like hardcore on the diet. Yeah. And then weekends we'd be like, oh, it's cheat day. Yeah. And then like go crazy. And go crazy and then be making up for everything that following week. Yeah. And then you end up punishing yourself the whole following week for the stuff that you did on the weekend. And sometime in the last 10 years, we've like continued to get better and better about that to the point where what we do now is like we do what's called like intuitive eating for the most part. So I still do the 5 workouts a week just because like I like to push myself in that way. Like I need to do it. I have to burn that energy. And like if I don't, then like I feel like I didn't do right by myself. Yeah. But the diet, I don't. Yes, like we have our
our meal
meal
prep, and like we have our
But
things.
that's-
Like my grocery cart is the same like every
Yeah.
single week.
But
I
that's-
keep the same stuff in the house, but it's like maybe at the end of the day, like you're wanting a little extra fruit or a yogurt or a little extra protein. Like it's not like, oh well,
Yeah.
nope, I've already capped out on the day.
And it's really the reason we do it that way with like the same grocery list every week and the same recipes and the same basic like breakfast. Excuse me, the same breakfast, lunch, and dinner is like literally out of just simplicity. It's really more of a simple thing. Like the foods that we eat are really healthy.
Yeah, there's no
At this point,
processed.
all we eat is whole foods. It's incredibly like it's an animal-based diet, so we eat a lot of steak, a lot of chicken, a lot of eggs, dairy, yogurt, fruit, some rice. I eat rice.
Yeah, rice. And like olive oil,
yeah,
and
we-
spices and stuff.
Butter. But we, again, throughout our 20s, like we would eat a lot of processed food, even if it was
Yeah.
when I say healthy, like quote unquote healthy
Like
food.
my protein bars. I look at my
Yeah.
protein bars. My
Yeah.
mom actually had an old one, like I'll say a Quest protein bar.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, do you want this?" When I was in Charleston,
Yeah.
she's like, "I know you used to eat these, right?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." And I looked at the label.
It's terrible.
And I was like, "What the fuck is half of these
Yeah,
ingredients?" Because now the ones I eat now are like 5 ingredients, and it's all
Yeah.
like an actual food.
So now we don't eat really any processed
Yeah.
food. We avoid seed oils completely. And this is going back like the last 5 years or
Mm-hmm.
so. No processed food, no seed oils, all whole foods for the most part. And we do like the more intuitive eating thing. We
Yeah.
make it easy on ourselves because we know what's good to keep in the house.
Yeah.
You do the meal prep because it's just like simpler than having to worry every week about
Yeah.
what we're gonna have for dinner one night or another.
And I'm not the kind of person that's like, "Oh no, it's this again." I'm
Yeah, I
not
don't
like
care.
people are always like wanting new recipes. And I'm like, I could kind of
It's
care
like,
less about that.
Just get over it.
Yeah, I need fuel for my body.
And then, like, of course, we love going out to dinner.
Uh-huh.
I love going to like a steakhouse. I love going and grabbing, going to like a new fine dining restaurant in Austin. Like, I love that kind of stuff. I love to eat. I love food, but we do it like more intuitively. And like, if somebody has something during the week,
Yeah.
we'll go out, and it goes back to like that's not a problem at this point
Yeah.
because like we're eating so clean. Like, I'm not stuffing myself on the weekends because. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm eating foods that are like really satisfying to me throughout the week. If I'm hungry, I eat. If I'm not hungry, I don't eat. And then this way, it's not like I'm making up for lost time on the weekends, which was really what I was doing for a really long time. It was like I was making up for like all the restricting that I did during the week on the weekend, and then I was punishing myself the next week. But again, I want to say like that is like progressively we've gotten better and better.
For
about
sure.
that.
But like there was a point, like when you're doing something like that, being so restrictive during the week, going ham on the weekend,
Yeah.
and then going back to that restriction, your body is in this constant like abundance, starvation mode. Like
Yep.
what's happening? And then once by Sunday night into Monday morning, your body's like, well, I'm not going to have like enough calories probably for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
So I better just hold on to everything
Yep.
I just consumed.
Yep.
And so I felt inflamed longer during the week. And then again, just doing hours of cardio
Yeah.
to like make up for whatever I was doing. And now with the weight training, with our workout programs, with our eating style,
Yep.
it's like if we go out during the week or like one night during the week, I'm not regretting
Yeah.
it, and I feel totally fine within 24 hours.
I didn't tell you this. I had my new female client signed up today.
Yeah?
And one of the reasons she signed up was because she saw your Instagram, the photo of you from the side and the front, where like a couple years ago, where like, you have like the rounder butt.
Oh, yeah.
She looked at that and she's like, that's the problem I have, and that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
So we actually were looking at that post today.
That's so
and
funny.
it says like, what changed? You started lifting heavy ass
Yeah.
weight. You did a lot of walking. You ate a lot of meat. You cut out seed oils, like all of those things. Like we were like just talking
That's so
about
funny.
that today.
I mean, that was a huge difference for me because during, obviously,
It said eat more,
eat
not
more.
less. Yeah.
Exactly, because again, your body's not going to that starvation mode and wanting to hold on.
Yeah.
And I was working out, after I fell off and had my dark period there, I went into, I must now be extremely disciplined, torture myself almost. I was hours of cardio 5 days a week, an hour a day. Plus on top of that, doing like 4 or 5 like HIIT classes or yoga. Like I was working out 2 to 3 hours a day and then not eating enough food I almost as like, again, Punishment.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
was not enjoying my life.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened. Silver lining of this COVID is I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't go do my HIIT classes. I couldn't go do group workouts. Running outside, I was like, oh, I guess I can do that. But you're like, no, we're going to work out together. Let's come. I'll put a program together for us to work out outside. And like we just talked about it, like you got all that equipment and we started training together and lifting weights or I started lifting weights, should I say? And like really lifting weights, not just like a class lifting weights. And then we got into the gym once everything opened back up. And I realized like, wow, I should have been doing this for like the longest time because after I started doing that, I was more in tune with my body. I understood what my body was wanting, what it needed. I was listening to it more, and it completely transformed my lifestyle.
Your body knows what it wants, and I guess we can wrap up with this final thought, which is
your thoughts.
When it comes to anything, especially self-betterment and especially your health, like everything should be done for yourself out of love for yourself. It shouldn't be done out of punishment for things that you did in the past. When I put excellence up on that whiteboard and put my weight down, like I remember yes, I was really strict with myself, but I remember being like, I'm not punishing myself, like I'm making myself better is the way I kind of looked at it at that point. But there's no doubt that throughout my 20s, there were moments where I was starving myself during the week, or just like, not starving myself, but just like eating less out of punishment for like the junk that I was eating on the weekend. There's no doubt about that. But now it's like my body is like a furnace. Like I am working out so hard and I'm eating the right foods. And I think there's two things to think about. Like a lot of times when people think about a diet, they think about like restricting calories and restricting like food, and trying to find like easy ways to eat healthy. And the reality is the best thing you can do if you're trying to eat healthy is just switch to a whole foods diet. Yep. Make it protein heavy. I'm not going to say, like I would say animal-based. I would say eat meat primarily and eggs primarily, but you could do whatever you want. But if it's whole foods, not processed, real shit that comes from like the earth ground. Or an animal, those are the things that your body wants. Those are the things that your body knows how to digest. Yep. Those are the things that are going to help you feel satisfied, as opposed to like something that comes in a bag or a box or a jar that has a ton of filler in it. Stuff that isn't real food, like seed oils are in almost everything, and it isn't real food. Your body doesn't know what it is or how to like absorb those nutrients. So no wonder you can eat something that, like you eat a whole bag of chips and like you still feel hungry. You just feel more like shit, is because you're stuffing like garbage like literally garbage into yourself that your body doesn't know what to do with. So the number one thing you could do is eat whole, real foods, prioritize protein. If that's meat, even better. What you're going to realize with that is that it's not like the problem wasn't that your body is like so starving that you have to eat all this crap. It's because you're not eating enough calories. It's because you weren't eating the right stuff that was nutrient dense enough, and your body was like still like craving sustenance. And then you can actually eat. You'll want to eat less because you'll be more satisfied. But the reality is, if it's those whole foods, you can eat more of it, and your body will be in a state of abundance. When you're doing things out of punishment for yourself, when you're restricting your calories, when you're beating yourself up in the gym and not rewarding your body with the fuel that it wants, your body goes into scarcity mode. It goes into panic mode. It holds on to all the calories and all the food that you're eating, and because it like doesn't want, it's like panicking. It doesn't know if it's going to get enough good food, especially if you're eating junk food or things that are like overly processed and have a lot of filler. The body's not getting what it wants. It's going to hold on to everything, and then once you start eating like a king in a good way, like a king from a few hundred years ago when there wasn't shit that came in bags and boxes and they were eating steak and eggs and potatoes and milk and fruit, now your body is in a state of abundance. The body's going like, this is the stuff I want. Yes, we could do a lot of hard work. Actually, we want to do a lot of hard work, and then we want to be satisfied again with like more delicious healthy food. And then when you start eating like that, your body goes into that state of abundance, starts to burn fuel like a furnace, and it turns that food into muscle. It burns fat, and you end up with pythons like this.
Or this.
Or like that. Let's go. I love it.
Hell yeah.
We'll probably talk more about this in the future.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
If you have more questions, True Fitness and Focus, right here. We got these new shirts in. I got them custom made with my logo on the side. I love these shirts. But that's all we got today. That was solid.
Yeah.
Solid.
I'd say so.
Probably rambled a little bit about some of the stuff, but it's fine.
I mean, it wouldn't be an episode without me rambling.
Of course. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Go
Like
out
and
there.
subscribe.
Stop making excuses. Eat whole foods. Eat an animal-based diet if you so choose. And get in the gym. Make it happen.
No excuses.
No excuses whatsoever.
Because greatness is...
Greatness is a process. It is a process. It's a lifetime process. It's not a 3-month process. It's not a 6-month process. Greatness is a lifetime process. Might as well start now. Thank you.